Junction Council meeting for the October 3, 2023 to order, and ask everyone to put their cell phones on silent. The invocation will be led by Vice Mayor Schroeder and pledged by Councilman Heck.
Thank you, Lord, for giving us this opportunity to represent the citizens of Apache Junction. I ask that you keep a watchful hand over our first responders, the police, EMT, and fire, amongst all of our military veterans and active duty. In God's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Here.
Councilmember Cross,
Here.
Councilmember Heck,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Nesser,
Present.
Councilmember Soller.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Consent agenda. As a reminder, all items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion. If a council member wishes to remove an item for further discussion, the request must be made prior to approving the consent agenda and will be moved to new business. Do I have a motion for consent agenda?
Your Honor.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser,
Yes.
Councilmember Heck,
Yes.
Councilmember Soller,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cross,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, we have some proclamations to read, and I've kind of divided it up, so the first one will be done by the Vice Mayor. Proclamation for this Arizona Cities and Towns Week.
Arizona and City Towns Week, October 15th through the 21st, 2023. Whereas the citizens of Apache Junction rely on the city to experience a high quality of life in our community, and whereas cities and towns in Arizona work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to deliver a vital city service such as fire, police, and emergency medical response to ensure safe communities, and whereas cities and towns in Arizona also provide services and programs to enhance the equality of life for residents, such as parks and recreational programs, library, health, wellness programs, street maintenance, and whereas it is important for Apache Junction to continue to provide the excellent delivery of services and programs that our citizens have come to expect in our community, and whereas through participation and cooperation with our community leaders, staff can work together to ensure that the services provided by the city can remain exceptional elements to quality of life. Now, therefore, on behalf of Walter Chip Wilson, a mayor of City of Apache Junction, he hereby does proclaim the week of October 15th to 21st, 2023 as Arizona City and Towns Week.
Okay, I'm going to do the, I don't know who they hand that to.
Mr. Ryle.
Okay, thank you. Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whoops, someone's phone. Whereas domestic violence is defined as an abusive behavior in personal relationship that gives one member control and power over another through physical, emotional, sexual, economic, or psychological actions or threats. And whereas during their lifetime, an estimated 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men are victim to some form of domestic violence. And whereas domestic violence in any community may exist as a hidden, silent, and often unrecognized reality that often is not reported to authorities. And whereas there is a need for change, and the assumptions made about domestic violence become proactive in preventing domestic violence and hold offenders accountable. Whereas the City of Apache Junction, the Apache Junction Police Department, a New Leaf, and other agencies, organizations, and state coalitions across Arizona and the nation are committed to preventing domestic violence by promoting prevention, awareness, campaign, education, and community and advocacy for victims' rights. Now therefore I, Chip Wilson, the mayor of City of Apache Junction, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, and to all the community. You know, this is a serious problem that we deal with almost on a consistent basis, where a lot of our calls come in, and it's not just a problem here in Apache Junction, it's a problem across the country. And for that reason, it's such an important month to bring awareness. Just here in Apache Junction, we responded to 375 calls last year, where couples, families got into some type of disagreement, argument, whatever it may be, and the police were called. We know that there's a lot of those calls that we should get that we don't get, and which is why it is so important that the community recognizes this month and at all times that we have resources, we are here to support you, and it's not just us. We have community partners like CAFA, victim advocates that are out here that want to help, that are waiting for people to reach out to have support. And having talked to multiple victims of domestic violence throughout my career, it's not an easy step. It's not easy for somebody. For us that look on the outside, we think just pick up the phone and call. We know it is extremely difficult, and it takes an entire community and it takes an entire movement like this to show those victims of domestic violence how important they are, and they're worth it. They are worth it, and they should never be living in a situation where they are in fear of their life, of their safety, where their children should ever see that type of action, yelling, screaming, hitting, any of that. The police department's here. We're not the answer, but we're a resource. I appreciate it, Mayor, and we are glad that this month is being recognized, and you all look great in purple.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Heck, you want to do the
Red Ribbon Week.
Red Ribbon Week, sorry.
No problem. Thank you. There's a proclamation for Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd to the 31st, 2023. Whereas the Red Ribbon Week theme, Be Kind to Your Mind, Live Drug-Free, promotes family and individual responsibilities for living healthy. And whereas substance abuse is particularly damaging to one of our most valuable resources, our children, and is a contributing factor in 3 leading causes of death for teenagers: accidents, homicides, and suicides. And whereas schools and communities pledge to set guidelines to help children and youth grow up safe, healthy, and drug-free. And whereas October 23rd through the 31st of 2023 has been designated National Red Ribbon Week, calling on all Americans to show their support for a drug-free state by wearing a red ribbon and participating in drug-free activities during that week. Now, therefore, on behalf of Chip Wilson, the mayor of the city of Apache Junction, Arizona, I do hereby proclaim the week of October 23rd through the 31st, 2023 as Red Ribbon Week.
Chief? Again?
Hello.
You know, again, this is another initiative. We appreciate it. I'm proud of my officers that are here also to see and show our support for the city council, for the entire community of Apache Junction. It's the men and women that have to see this on a daily basis that we take home and we talk about, and we see it daily. It seems like when we come to work, we hope that we don't get a call for service, whether it's something with drugs or something with domestic violence or whatever it is, but they continue to come, they continue to happen. And again, it's not something just here in Apache Junction, it's throughout the entire country that is dealing with this. And again, I'm proud to serve in a community like this where we recognize these issues and we're addressing them as best we can and bringing awareness. So thank you, and on behalf of the men and women of the Apache Junction Police Department, we're proud to serve the city of Apache Junction and be here shoulder to shoulder with each of you. Thank you.
Want to get us all done?
All of us.
All of us? You want
We
all?
can stand up here.
Yep. Our mayor council stand, we'll invite all the officers up.
We'll just stand, Get real close. Oh, my head over this. Get down and kneel in the front.
Thank you. And stay right there real quick. We're going to do the Red Ribbon Week photo too.
Oh, the red ribbon's on the screen.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for all you do.
Get in the next section here.
Now I'm leaving. Okay.
You can always, anything you want.
All right.
Right now.
Brief summary of intergovernment updates from the mayor and council. Anyone have anything?
I do, Mayor.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the members of the Apache Junction Police Department, and I'd like to thank the employees of Apache Junction that are wearing pink and pink ribbons for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It is started October 1st. It ends at the end of October. So I'd like to just thank those people for stepping up and recognizing that organization as well.
Oh, yeah, so last week, we had a forum of sorts. The county supervisor was there, the county attorney, the city manager, the mayor, and myself. And it was a very good thing, 'cause so the public was invited to come, and we were asked questions by the moderator, and then we took Q&As from the audience. And I think it went pretty well. We had a lot of tough questions to answer. It's a great opportunity to put us on the hot spot. If you ever find out one of those are coming up again, I would highly recommend you attend, and you'll get some answers right from the hip for sure. But I thought it was a success.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So, last Thursday, the city manager, Brian Powell, financial analyst Robert Whistler, and I had the opportunity to attend a Pinal County Housing Roundtable down in Coolidge. The meeting was designed to explore the different opportunities and the organizations that have worked toward developing housing or more affordable housing. Companies like Vitalist Health Foundation, Workforce Housing Solutions, Home Matters Arizona, Local First Arizona, Arizona Department of Housing, Habitat for Humanity. They all made presentations, and the goal was to help all the various cities and towns in Pinal County to try and understand and maybe get an opportunity to think through or plan how they might develop the housing market. I guess the one thing we did learn, and I learned, is that every city and town in Pinal County is just like us, which is struggling with affordable housing or more affordable housing. And I was appreciative of this, and we have the information from that, and I would like to think that down the road there would be, an opportunity to look at some of that. I know we're doing some low-income housing tax credits now, so there are things that we are doing to try and help address that issue. So, thank you. And thank you to Brian and Robert for attending as well.
Who else?
Well, I know you're going to be talking about the groundbreaking ceremony,
Yes.
so I'll let you have it at.
Okay, well, I'm going to tie on what Robert was saying a couple minutes ago in that session that we had the other day with the county attorney and everything. And one of the things that I'm going to say, it was shocking to realize, but it's something that, you know, we as a nation need to address and be on top of. And what he stated was national average of individuals involved in gun violence across the nation, mind you, it is 22 years of age. And that, to me, was very shocking in the aspect on it, that, you know, we have these young, I'm going to say young kids that are really, in a sense, there's no respect for life. And that's the unfortunate thing on it. And it's something that we as a nation need to work on as well. And we're experiencing some of that in our community as well. In Pinell County, he said that, if I remember right, it was 26 years of age was the average age. So, you know, we had one here a little over a week ago. It was a 73-year-old man. What's the age of the kids involved to offset that 73 years of age? That's something that we definitely, as a nation and as a community, need to work on. What I also had the opportunity to attend the groundbreaking over at the community college over here. And it was some of their improvements that are going on, some of the new programs that they're bringing in, and their instructions. And we're going to see some these are some of the new renderings that they're talking about for the new buildings. And some of the old buildings are going to come down that are in desperate need of, I'll say, repair. So they're going to replace them with new buildings. Let's see, what's the, oh, yeah, this weekend, we're going, or this weekend, excuse me, I keep saying weekend, it's Friday. We're going to have, under new ownership, the exchange of the keys for the rodeo grounds. And we're going to have people from BLM there to give us the key for the operation. And the city has now taken possession of it so that we can start doing some great opportunities and some expansions and everything out there.
Mr. Solar.
Yes, also this weekend, we have the National Faith in Blue Weekend. We'd like our citizens to join local law enforcement and come out for a weekend of resolution and reconciliation. National Faith and Blue Weekend is a collaborative effort to build bridges and break biases. And you can see a list of all the churches that are part of this. And the first part is going to be Pack the Bearcat. That is a toy drive that the Apache Junction Police Department is putting on. And they have a Bearcat that they're asking community members to bring toys, fill it up so they can give them out. And that is at the Mountain View Lutheran Church, 2122 South Goldfield. And the second one is on Sunday, and that's a community picnic, October 8th, 12:30 to 2:30. And that is Church of the Pentecost, Amazing Grace Presbyterian. Both are putting it on, and it's at 1180 East Broadway Avenue. So we'd ask you to come out both for the Pack the Bearcat in the morning, 9 to 11 on Saturday, and the community picnic, 12:30 to 2.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I guess since we're talking about events on Saturday, there will be the Make a Difference Day on Saturday, I think it's 8 o'clock. It's the Community Development Corporation. They're sponsoring the, you already have that, okay. Were you going to mention that?
Go, keep going.
It's an opportunity, it's the Community Development Corporation focuses on addressing areas of blight or areas that need to be improved, and we have volunteers that get involved in doing that. And this Saturday, we will be doing that as well, 8 to 11, and we would certainly, you can choose from about 5 different events, but we'd love to see you there because that's making a direct impact on the appearance of our city. So Saturday, 8 to 11. at the focal point.
I just remembered one I was attending here, and this was at our library this past Friday, wasn't it? I've forgotten what day it was, but just this past week, or no, Saturday, that's right. And that was a release of butterflies. The kids that were involved in the library were from, I'm going to say seed in the aspect on it, raising caterpillars and then allowing them to go into cocoon and then hatch as a butterfly. And it was exciting to see all the kids overjoyed seeing these butterflies released. Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. What a wonderful time of year. So much going on, and I want to add my continued thanks for your support of our community and the nonprofit, religious organizations, and our police department, fire department, who work so hard to help people keep safe and keep the awareness going. For many, many years, we've tried to do our best to bring awareness this month to domestic violence. Our town hall, our city hall will be purple. Our focal point will be purple. We're all wearing purple. Help people remember and keep that in front. We're really, really excited about the rodeo grounds coming to City of AJ being ours. I hope everyone will come. 5:30 arrival, 6 o'clock start. And we do have a challenge, and it's Al's, to do our best to help people know about all the events that are here. You guys, you all mentioned many of them. And so people wonder, what's going on in Apache Junction? We'll do our best to help everybody at least be informed and choose of the different events. The $43 million coming to Apache Junction through Central Arizona College is incredible. But what's even more incredible is the institution and the training that's coming in is specifically for the trades. These 3 new buildings that are coming in our community are for the trades. Our community and our residents will benefit in a very high quality, high jobs, low debt, ability for the youth to be able to come right across the street, get the education and come. I just wanted to make mention of that, Mayor. You had brought that one up. And then I just had a couple more to add. Something our finance department's been working on for a good chunk of time has finally happened, and we've received a certificate of recognition for budget preparation through the GFOAZ, Organization of Government Finance Officers Association, and I'll just read a real quick portion of a letter that our finance director received. A panel of independent reviewers have completed its examination of your budget document. We're pleased to inform you that the panel has voted to award your budget a document of a distinguished budget of presentation of award by the GFOA. We have received for many, many years on our CAFR or ACWA, the end-of-year report of what we do in terms of distinguished recognition, but we haven't ever had our budget. It's been a goal for our city to go and get this. What it demonstrates is that we're working in a way to allow for it to be a good planning, the budget to be a planning document, a communication document, and a financial document that helps lay out the plan, that helps us do revenues to expenditures every year and make sure we stay within that plan and it's consistent with your goals and objectives. And then lastly, I'll mention that this last week, the Chamber of Commerce had their annual Superstition Open, they call it. And it was a really great event. We had several members of our community participate, many, and several from your city staff participate. So anyway, we want to always highlight the great work the Chamber's doing and bringing in great businesses to our city. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bravo to highlight a few more items.
Thank you very much. Boss, this is Al Bravo, Public Information Officer for the City of Apache Junction. A couple of things to note, as Councilmember Heck mentioned, Make a Difference Day is this Saturday, 8 to 11 in the morning. You can go to ApacheJunctionCDC.com for a lot more of the details on the different areas that they're going to be working on Saturday, and of course to volunteer as well. We hope to see you out there on Saturday.
They meet at the focal point, right?
They're supposed to be at the focal point, is that right, Gail? Yes, meet at the focal point. 7:30? 7? There you go, between 7 and 7:30. Always trust the former council member on that one. Okay. This is a kind of an interesting little note that I wanted to pass along from our department, and that is the Phoenix New Times is the alternative weekly for the Valley of the Sun, has been for quite some time. They have a Best of Phoenix edition that they do every year. and they do 1,000 different bests. They do best restaurants and best, places to get your car fixed and all kinds of stuff. Well, they listed the best hard hike as the Superstition Ridgeline Trail. You can see it right there. It's kind of a neat little mention in there because I don't know if we've ever had that particular trail recognized in that way. So a shout out to the Phoenix New Times for recognizing the Superstition Mountains for one of their big trails. As the city manager said, there is lots and lots of stuff going on. This is just one of the things that are happening over at the Earth Heart Park and at the library through Horizon Health and Wellness. The seed project continues. It's going to be going on over the next 3 or 4 months, beginning later this month on October the 18th. You can learn all about that at the library's website, which is ajpl.org, or of course you can go to Horizon Health and Wellness and get all the information there. They have a lot more things going on that we'll be talking about as we go through the month, because it is October, so there is lots of stuff coming up. There is all kinds of stuff that the Parks Department is going to be doing, all kinds of stuff that the library is going to be doing. So my suggestion to you all, go to the website, ApacheJunctionAZ.gov, scroll to the bottom is the calendar. That calendar for the month of October literally has something for every day of the month of October. That should give you an idea of just how busy things get in the season, as it were, in our city. And of course, you can always sign up for our newsletter. I usually try to wrap up as much as I can in there, and it'll give you lots of links to all the things that are going on. ApacheJunctionAZ.gov/newsletter. There's your announcements for October the 3rd, 2023.
Thank you. Public hearing, consideration of Fourth Amendment to the Economic Development Agreement between the City of Apache Junction and Mohan. Boy, I blew his name. Kitchen Post.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I need to recuse myself from this part of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Who's going to?
Your Honor, I can kick this one off.
Okay.
Your Honor, had asked staff to present to you an updated Fourth Amendment. Matt, I don't know if you can open up the agenda item. I'd like to reference I think it's the 3rd page.
Give me one moment.
Yep. Of this update. You have the table portion right there under A. So the updates to this amendment include clarification on the activities, bull riding, and junior rodeo events. Time is changed from 8 to 10 to 7 to 10, and allows for community events 8 times a year, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Some clarification language is in the new amendment on noise, that it matches and is clear to meeting the definition within the city's current noise ordinance. And that's really the gist of the change in this new amendment. Mayor and Council, we have done that, we've updated that, and present this to you tonight for your consideration and possible review and approval.
Council have any discussion?
Not this time.
Don't see any. So this is a public hearing. I'd like to find out if anyone would like to speak on the item. Yes? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes with 1 minute warning.
George Schroeder, 2444 West Virginia Street. First, I need clarification. Are the 8 instances, are they all bull riding, or are they varied circumstances? Can he use it for whatever he wants, or is it going to be strictly bull riding events? Brian, Joel?
We'll answer afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
All bull riding?
Okay, we'll answer, we'll reply to your,
All right, so, okay, I was trying to do that so I didn't have to do this. You know, you just don't learn. $20 million lawsuit taught you nothing. This is the kind of stuff that got us in the mess in the first place. I like Mo. He's got a good business, but he's kind of going about it the wrong way. His place is not up to code. So we need to treat him fair as any other business. If he wants a special event, he's got to come before the city and ask for that special event. That is fair. That keeps the city and them out of trouble. So, and as far as folks up here, whoever voted or had a deposition, either for or against Mo, you shouldn't be voting on this. It's not fair. It's not fair to the public. They know you shouldn't be voting on this.
Can we answer the one question right now, or we wait until the very end, Val?
It's more than bull riding. Allows for any type of event.
Yes.
Donna Carr, Apache Junction resident. I was just thinking, is the junior bull riding for like little kids who ride the sheep?
Mutton busting. Yeah.
And is there any way that you guys can add another event to it, such as like maybe the grease pig contest or something like that? Make it more fun for like the young guys. Well, I'm saying young guys because I'm old. So anybody that's under the age of 35 or something. So thanks.
Hi, Tim O'Toole, Apache Junction. I'm at 2178 East Foothills. I'm directly behind this establishment. And I'm just curious, is this part B of this Windsong right-of-way, is this part of this discussion here? This right-of-way, is it just about?
Just the development agreement tonight.
It's just the economics, so this part isn't part of it. Well, I'm here for that. But I just oppose any kind of expansion of any kind of events there. I'm directly behind this establishment. Nobody invited me to this meeting. I found out it through a bird. And I'm directly behind her. There's 5 new properties behind his building now that are directly affected by this. Mine's soundproof. I'm great with what it was. I bought my house and I said, what's this place up here with all these trailers and everything going on? But that's what I bought it. I bought it for this beautiful mountain. My house is soundproof. I'm good with that. I bought it. I bought part of that with it. Expansion to that is just totally unnecessary. And that's not really what I'm here for. There's another part of this agenda with this easement, it's what I'm actually here for. But any expansion whatsoever for that is just unnecessary. The traffic and the accidents and the emergency vehicles I see coming over in front of this restaurant night in, night out, they're coming out of Canyon Lake. There's accidents, there's deaths, there's motorcycles, and it's a distraction at that intersection at Brown and whatchamacallit. Any added event over there is just totally unnecessary. Hot dogs and hamburgers and death is what they're selling over there, and that's what it is. And I'm completely opposed to any expansion to it, and especially with this Windsong right-of-way, giving this man this property that he's fenced in. Because I have the same issue. I don't know if this is part of it or not. I'm told no from
Not tonight.
It is?
Well, go ahead, Joel.
You may have more time here too, because I need more than 5 minutes, because my whole neighborhood is affected by this. Nobody invited me to this meeting. This right-of-way here directly affects 5 new homes that are behind him now. 10 years ago, they weren't here. There's 5 people now, and there's going to be potentially 15 more homes. That right-of-way is needed. This is how we get into our homes. This is how we exit our homes. This is how I've got people that are 2 houses behind mine that are going to be driving their car through my property to get to their property. And the other exit is through his backyard, which he's fenced in illegally. And this is a big issue, because if he's going to get a fence, then I might just put up my fence, and then we can just go on for 10 years to find out whether or not I need to take mine down. This is ridiculous. He's been in this property from 10 years, for what I understand, illegally, and nobody's done anything. It's time to call Wire Derp here. This is ridiculous. This man needs to take the fence down, and that is a right-of-way, and this is going to give potentially the people who are going to be there who aren't there yet, and nobody's here to speak up about it. Nobody's here because nobody's invited. There's 5 homes right now that can possibly go through their fire, emergency, not to mention SRP, who owns the property or needs to work on those wires. They have no access to it because they're going to have to put their truck on top of a boat in an abandoned truck. Those trucks and things over there haven't moved in the 3 years I've been here. And then if he needs any parking, he's got ample parking. And this is a smoke screen for this abandonment thing. This is all about abandonment. This ain't about getting future events. This is about abandonment. And that's what this thing's all about. And that's what I see it. And this is ridiculous. If he's getting it, then I want it. Because I got people coming through my property and potentially a whole lot more coming through my property in the near future. That is necessary and it's essential to my neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
My name is Richard Beavers, and I live at 2225 North Cortez, right behind the hitching post. We've gone through this thing for 6 years now that I've lived down here, and it's not gotten any better, and it's only going to get worse if you pass this, whatever it is. I just got my paper in the mail this morning about this meeting. I didn't know anything about it. But I moved down here because my wife was sick with Alzheimer's, and I had to be closer to my son. But I had to put her in a home earlier than I anticipated because of all the noise over there, and she was scared to death. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want any part of this new extension of whatever he's got going over there. He doesn't deserve it.
I'm short. Hello. My name's Bonnie Goldsberry. My husband and I own the property right across Highway 88 from the hitching post. It's commercial with residential living also. And I'm completely taken aback by people who want to impose all of the noise that is created out there on the hitching post. I'm at my property sometimes 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And I quit counting after 1,000 boats and RVs going by my property, headed up to the lakes. If you want to talk about noise, okay, let's shut off the lakes. Let's quit letting people ride their ATVs out there. We're talking about a venue in our community, Apache Junction, that offers a facility that procures family values. I grew up in a rodeo family. My mom and dad always said they were so proud of my brother and I because we never had to call them for rent money or to bail us out of jail. We got those family values from becoming a part of a community and another family through rodeo. And I'm perplexed by the complaints. I'm not sure if all of you know, but Miss Rodeo America was last year's Miss Rodeo Arizona. These are the type of people that this sort of venue brings to our community. And the fact that they want to add more events that are not being held overnight, it's not creating any more traffic than the other beautiful things we have in our community that are offered to all of us. I really don't understand it, and I would really hope, I want to go on record as saying I'm in favor of more events like this. And the fact that there is a rodeo grounds on Lost Dutchman that is not far from the hitching post, that here in the middle of this month is having a rock concert by Lita Ford. What's the point? Now, I don't understand it. You're able to do that at this rodeo grounds? She's toured with Ozzy Osbourne. You don't think it's not going to be a loud concert? And now we want to split hairs about how loud a bull riding announcer is versus a rock concert? I don't get it. I personally would rather go to this venue at the hitching post and watch all those young boys and young girls and young men and young women stand out there, take their hats off, put their hands over their hearts while the Pledge of Allegiance or the national anthem is going on, and watch those families become a more important part of our community than to see the people riding up and down the street on bicycles with backpacks trying to break into my building.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Gail Evans, 913 South Del Rio Court, Apache Junction, Mayor, council members, staff, audience. I have a couple of questions, and it pertains to the 8 events and what type of 8, how did the number 8 come about? So right now, there's 96 events per year. This puts it up to 104, not just for the people along Cortez, but everybody directly east of this is subject to this, 104 times a year. When it says community events, it really doesn't say once a month, twice a month. How did the number 8 come about? This is actually the second Fourth Amendment. The first Fourth Amendment, I believe Councilmember Nesser was on P&Z. Mayor Wilson, he was a council member. We had a 7-0 vote on that Fourth Amendment, which contained a lot of code violations and things that needed to be brought up to current standards. When it passed 7-0, Mr. Mohadeen decided to cancel it. He didn't want to make any of those changes. Public safety wasn't on his purview at that time. On October 9th of 2021, the fire department did an inspection over there. He is 45 people over his limit, and that limit of 99, when you go over that, requires sprinklers and fire alarms. He was told of this, and he did not comply. As a council and as city staff and as a member of the community, I think public safety is the most paramount thing. We allow, if he's already over that limit and we're having community events, and without it specifically saying what kind, he could have a carnival there. He could have many types of events there. And I love having events in this city, but I'm more concerned about public safety and codes. This agreement doesn't say it's that the staff is going to have an inspection before this goes into effect. It also says that the party shall abide at all times by the provisions of this agreement, including the city's zoning, building, health, and safety, but it doesn't say what happens if none of those, we don't get an inspection prior to this agreement going into place, or do we? And if he does he have to comply with all of this building safety before he gets his 8 events? You know, when Blount Construction came before the council, there was a great deal of discussion about noise and how much noise were these neighbors going to have to put up with, and what time of day was this noise allowed for a business. So my question is, what neighborhood counts and what neighborhood doesn't count? This neighborhood's already impacted, and I don't mean Cortez, I mean everything east, because the noise went west, it wouldn't affect anybody. But it doesn't. It goes to our prime horse property neighborhoods. And I think that should be a concern for everyone when it comes to safety. Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, representatives. I'd like to say that our youth has far few things.
Name and address.
Oh, Jane Brown, 35 Val Vista Road, Apache Junction. Our youth has far few avenues of things to do. And the ones that are into barrel racing, bull riding, these are the kids that are actually going to become great members of our community. And we want to be a horse community. We want to be the Emerald of the Valley. I think that's one of our values, is to have trails and have horses. And we were all barrel racing out in open fields when we didn't even have fences around them. So I see no problem, and all the people that I've been talking to about this, which is why I'm here today, is nobody sees a problem with the bull riding, the activities that are going on there. And they think that concerns about noise are overblown, and that they think it's a very good thing to have in the community. It draws people here, it draws families here, and it builds on us as a horse community. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes? No.
After our discussion is.
Yep.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Andre Meek, 1327 Bel Air Road, here in AJ. Sounds like a really contentious subject here. The way I look at it, you know, no dog in the fight here. I drive by there every day. I can see, you know, traffic issues now. And addition to those, if something, you know, if they added stuff, you know, I feel for the people that live in the area, but, you know, I'm always the one that, if you move next to the airport, well, you know, that's kind of what you get. Depends on who's there first. But doing what they're doing, the bull riding and all that, you know, great. I'm all for that because, you know, it's something for the youth. It's something to get them into that and everything like that. But the owner of the venue seems to take a real light look at how he's supposed to comply with a lot of things. And, you know, he's almost, you can almost say he's using that, you know, the sympathy of the people, you know, wanting to have the events and everything like that to kind of, you know, skate on some of this stuff. You know, if I had a suggestion to make, it would be, you know, you comply with everything you're supposed to comply with, and then, you know, you can have it. But, you know, it sounds like there's issues there in listening to the other people talking here, and I just, you know, think that that should be investigated before any decision is made, and then, you know, bring them up to compliance. And then, you know, I see no problem with bull riders or anything like that. And then another thing too, if people say it's a noise issue, well, you know, that's what they make decibel meters for and all that. Go out there and scope it and see if there is a, you know, a legal noise issue. That's all I got to say.
Anyone else? Well, I'll close that portion of it and discussion from the council. Do you want to address some of the questions?
Which question?
The type of events.
Yeah, so my understanding of the direction is that as long as it's any community event, it was going to happen before 7 p.m., the council was okay with that. So it was a broad definition of any community event.
Does he have to fill out the paperwork for the city to do this event?
He does not. This is his authorization to carry out those events. Now, we would follow any of the regulations that are outlined in the agreement, and he would have to follow the capacity issues that were brought up in terms of number of folks per capita that are in the room. The fire department, fire district is aware of those. Noise ordinance is outlined in here, has to stay under the decibel and meet the city's noise ordinance.
So he could have a concert there.
That's my understanding, that the council was open to any event between those hours.
And as far as the types of events, they are, I won't say, we'll call it the mutton busting and other types of activities to including weddings, things like this. It's not necessarily all a rodeo.
Right, that's my understanding, is that there were events that you all had seen come up that would allow for, like the mutton busting and other events that were by the junior rodeo at the time last spring that were not able to be during the day, and your hope was to have 8 of those, that it would allow for that.
Anyone else have comments?
I'm going to make a comment for 2 reasons. One, because once I do, you will have the right to come back up and say something. So as far as the events go, I mean, people hear, oh, this establiishment's getting 8 more events, bumping it over 100. I mean, these things can be a wedding, they could be a car show. I mean, it doesn't automatically have to go to the worst case scenario. You know, I seriously doubt he's gonna have, you know, target practice back there kind of thing. And now, curious what Gail Evans, a woman who I respect, and I really do, that she had mentioned on a couple of occasions that the old council voted 7-0 to approve a Fourth Amendment, and Mr. Mohoudin decided not to go through with that. But in that approval included 96 events. So it's okay, back then, 7-0 include 96 events, but add 8 more, it's the end of the world. So I don't feel like it's necessarily a matter of how many events are being offered or the bull riding. I think this goes really, really, really deep in this community. We're talking decades. Now, like for example, the 99 quota for the people coming in his establishment. Well, if he breaks that, well then he'll get cited for it. This isn't a license to fill the place up. He still has to follow the codes and regulations. So it's really a matter of, I know a lot of people that in the surrounding area don't agree with this, but that establishment is an asset to this city. It brings people into this city. I hear all the time, what are you going to do about economic development? Well, this is a start. There has been history between the city and the applicant here that has gotten very, very ugly, and accusations flew. I mean, for one reason or another, whether it's a land or whether it's race or whatever it is. But it became a very, very uncomfortable and bad situation for both parties. Now, this is also, in a sense, an olive branch. And it's not just that. It's, if there is an issue down the road, well, we don't want to hear race. We don't want to hear land grab. The city is reaching out and trying to help this business thrive. And that is some of the reasons why. The 8 events, it surrounded a mutton busting, a rodeo organization that would come in, and the Hitching Post would host it. It is their organization putting this on. This is just a venue for them to put it on. And because it was more of a mutton busting situation, it was during the day. And there was a time where Mr. Mohudin felt that he was able to hold one of these during the day. And it turns out there was a miscommunication somewhere and he was not. And this is something that, where the time frame of the 8 events came in, it's more like, so this rodeo circuit can roll through here on a Saturday afternoon, whether it's 11 to 2 or 1 to 4, whatever it is, and they'll have a place to hold their events. And since this place is already suitable for these events, this is why. This isn't, we're not sitting around and saying, oh, we don't like Cortez Street, we're gonna let them throw rock concerts going on there. Now, and one of the things someone had mentioned, they're saying that they felt that the noise was exaggerated, the noise complaints were exaggerated. Well, I can tell you this, I received a letter from a neighbor. They're not in town, and they expressed they didn't want this to go through. They're a half mile away from the hitching post. Now, back a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when this thing was full swing, we'll just call it Mogate, I don't know, but I went to the hitching post on a Thursday and a Saturday to see firsthand the noise it created. I drove down Cortez Street, I was in the parking lot, and I would say if I went there 4 times, which is probably accurate, at least 3 of them, I made a mental note, because I would sit in the patio outside of the arena. No further was my seat than that door is to the door to the arena. And at least 3 of the 4 times, I didn't even know it let out. I'm just sitting there minding my own business, eating whatever it is and talking, and the next thing you know, here comes some cowboys and some cowgirls, kids walking out, going to the parking lot to leave. And I didn't even know it was over. And I'm 50 feet away from it. Not to say that noise doesn't travel differently through different ways. I understand that, and I can never really say what it's like to sit in the backyard of some of these people on Cortez, because I've never done that. But I can tell you in the few instances I was there, that I personally didn't feel like it was something that would affect someone a half a mile away. And for someone to write this letter tells me it was an organized situation between other neighbors to get them all on board. So it wasn't necessarily a matter of the noise, it was a matter of joining together. So I really believe that this is something that we really just want to say, these are our businesses, and we need to do what we can to help them. This is not an easy time to own a business at all. I'm seeing places shut down all over the valley. And if there's anything I personally can do to help a local business continue to expand, and when I say expand, I'm not saying building buildings and things like that. What I mean is to offer a little longer. Now, the time was 8 to 10 originally. We just changed it to 7 to 10. And some of the logic behind it was because at 10 o'clock, when they would shut down their bull riding, there would be they would load the bulls, right? And they would shut and open the gates and things like that, and that noise would carry on a little bit. Now, even though that was the other companies doing that, not necessarily the hitching post, the idea behind this is to be able to take care of what they're taking care of, starting at 7, and then that way, come 9:30, they can start to tear down, and so by 10 o'clock, it's done, it's over with. I mean, there is some method to the madness on what we did. We talked about it, and I feel like I don't think it's something that should be dismissed. I think it's something that if anybody has any sort of reservations about it, now's the time to bring it up.
Anyone else?
Mayor,
Yes.
I want to address the community events. 8, the reason 8 is we gave them basically one event a month during the cooler months, which is about 8 months. And we changed the times. It's 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., so it's not going into the night that far. It was set up for mutton busting. He can have weddings if somebody would care to do that. but it's more geared around taking care of the youth that are in the rodeo, that want to do mutton busting and events like that, so he can do it. Because we had them here, and they weren't allowed to do their event because it wasn't in the agreement. So this is our way of letting these kids who want to be in the rodeo, who, I agree, it's a great learning experience for them, to give them that venue. And again, it's 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Now, whether or not it even lasts that long, it's just a
Right.
matter of a window.
Yep.
Your Honor,
Yes.
currently, Mo is in full compliance with his license to operate.
That is correct, and then if we get any complaint, we follow it.
Correct. So it has been addressed to him on a couple occasions when he has exceeded his occupancy, and he's implemented, from what I understand, security to help keep track of occupancy when they're having small band concerts inside. And as far as I know, he's keeping that under the proper numbers. I've been over there on numerous occasions, especially on a Friday night or a Saturday night when some of our local groups decide to have a big poker run. And I can't hear anything other than ATVs hammering up Highway 88. They're loud, a lot louder than the bull riding. We talked about part of the reasons for, as was already mentioned regarding the junior rodeo events. One of the reasons why this came into play is there was the organization that has the rodeo events there was wanting to have a special junior-only event on a Saturday during the day. And somebody brought it to the city's attention that that wasn't in the third development agreement, and he wasn't supposed to have events other than specifically bull riding only on Thursday nights and bull riding only on Saturday nights. That's not what rodeo's about. It's not like he's going in there with a bunch of horses and hooping and hollering. These kids, they have mutton busting where the kids get to ride the sheep, and just that's their first introduction into rodeo. But as the one member in the audience brought out, it's pretty cool to see all these kids, all these young adults standing there, taking their hats off and giving attention to the national anthem before the rodeo starts. That's how we build a community. That's how we build respect. Earlier tonight, it was brought out that the average age of shootings right now is 22 years old. But you're not going to see these kids doing that kind of shooting because they have a respect for life. They have a respect for self and well-being. They have respect for adults. It's yes, sir, no, ma'am, thank you. They're polite kids. So part of that 8 community events was specifically geared to allow the Junior Bull Riders Association to hold a few Saturday events for these young kids. That's specifically. How many deaths have actually been recorded at that intersection? I'm not aware of any, and I've lived here since 2004. Chief, do you know for certain?
We'd have to look that up. We need to double check that. Wouldn't want to
If we had
speculate.
had 3 deaths, we would probably have a roundabout there by now, just like we had a roundabout put in right here. That was the reason for the roundabout, is because there was several deaths. That has not occurred at that intersection. Have we had some bad accidents? Yes. That's because of the design of the road. When you have non-90-degree angles, that's where you get bad accidents. Somewhere down the road, eventually ADOT will probably put in a roundabout there, or maybe a traffic light, but most likely a roundabout.
The last accident that was really bad, thankfully that lady that got hit by the delivery truck, and it wasn't a delivery truck, it was a moving van that hit. Yeah, it was, you sit back and you look at it and you can't believe. But the guy clearly ran the stop sign, like it wasn't even there. Like maybe he was on his cell phone. So, it talked about the prior to the hitching post having bull riding, way back, they had a few outdoor concerts. But since they are under a development agreement, things have changed. But one of the biggest things is that if this company or if this business wasn't under a development agreement, was just a normal bar based on the zoning, they would be able to have all kinds of different events. This helps regulate what they can and cannot have versus unimpeded. It's zoned to have a bar. It's zoned for that kind of activity. I think this really substantially helps regulate. One of the other reasons for the 7 to 10 versus 7 to 9, or 8 to 9, or 8 to 10, excuse me, was one of the owners of the bull riding organization specifically asked, hey, is there any way we could start earlier on Thursday and try and get out of here by 9 o'clock? Because a lot of her kids that are riding these bulls are in school. And she would like to see them get home before 10 o'clock versus getting home at 11 o'clock. You know, there's that kind of forethought into this. So, you know, I think that there's a lot here that is making an organization and a business in our community that creates a lot of tax dollars for us. We're not a property tax community, we're a sales tax community. And the more sales tax we can generate, the better off our community will be overall. And this is something that brings in tax dollars. Thank you.
You have something to say?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm going to maybe go at this a little different, perhaps. I want to support Mo. I have been at the hitching post any number of times, and I want to support him. And I think that there is benefit of having those rodeo events for the younger people to be able to learn and develop. I'm going to hit this thing from the point of safety. And based on some of that information we learned here tonight about a previous Fourth Amendment that went away, I am concerned about the safety of the patrons at the hitching post. My understanding is, and I'm going to assume this at this point, that number of 99 has been in place for a long time. I know I'd be surprised if the number of people attending the hitching post hasn't grown through the years. And then if we add community events, that could certainly exceed that number. Certainly could be compromised by an increased number of patrons. I would, God forbid, if there were ever an incident and there wasn't a sprinkler system and a fire alarm system in the hitching post.
There is a fire alarm system.
There's a fire alarm system?
Yeah.
Okay. Sprinklers too?
No.
No sprinklers. Okay. You know as well as I do, you're in the business. Fire alarms are one thing, sprinklers are altogether something else. I was in the senior living industry for 35 years, and I saw what sprinklers can do to preserve life. And I feel like we're saying, well, we don't really know if he's exceeding that number. I'd be concerned that we would be saying, it's okay, don't worry about it. Because God forbid if something happened and we were concerned, we would have said, well, we just assumed he didn't reach 99. So my feeling is, and I'm not sure quite where to go, but I feel that we have to really look at whether or not that number's been exceeded. And if so, then he needs to put in a sprinkler system instead of saying, well, if he exceeds it, if and then, or it's an if and when and then type thing. I think we need to say, okay, we need to look really carefully at this. And if he exceeds it, then he puts in the sprinkler system. And I mean, I know that's not cheap, I know that. But we're talking about the safety of the folks who live in the city. You know, we say, oh, it's a great venue and we certainly want to have that. We want people to enjoy themselves. I absolutely agree. God forbid there were a fire there and there were lives lost in that. It wouldn't matter how great it was. We would only remember that we maybe hadn't done everything we could. So I'm going to make the stand on this about the sprinkler system. And I don't know whether or not we can continue this or not, if that's what it takes. But if I had to vote right now, I'd vote no, because I'm concerned about the sprinkler system, not about the events and all that.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I got a question for Councilman Heck. Is this because of the issue with your sprinkler system? Is this about a zoning issue? I mean, if a fire broke out and there was 98 people in there, does that make it any better?
Well, not necessarily. I guess my feeling is, and that's why I kind of said, why not be proactive, install a sprinkler system so that we don't have to worry about that. But shh.
No, okay. No.
I know that. I think I know that.
Mayor,
Yes.
Call to order, just for you.
when they're outside, they do not count as the 99, correct?
That's correct.
So it's only the people inside the bar is 99.
Right.
Okay.
Your Honor, Joel, Mo can't be the only business in town that doesn't have a sprinkler system. We've got a lot of old businesses here in Apache Junction. What's the requirement that requires, is it literally just this magical number of 99 that if you have more, if you accommodate more people than that, you have to have a fire system? Or does it go into the arena of if you do 50% change of your building that you gotta put a fire system in? Or, you know, who does and who doesn't have to do that?
Mayor and Councilmember Nasser. It's complicated. It goes to the building code and fire code, and it goes to square footage, and also occupancy of how many people come in. It was determined, I think, in 2014 or 2013 by the then building official, Dennis Dixon. And it's based on number of tables, how many people can actually sit in there, and I think accommodations were made actually for Mr. Mayodine to actually lower the occupancy as long as certain tables were taken out. I recall that. But that is I know that's an easy answer, but it is more complicated. And there are businesses that, well, I don't know of every business that has a permit for a sprinkler. I have no idea. But I do know it's an expensive proposition. And it is a safety issue under the fire code and building code.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
regarding fire sprinklers, there's probably numerous bars and locations throughout our community that do not have fire sprinklers. And there's probably several that do. It depends on the building, depends on the area. In my direct conversations with Mo's fire sprinkler engineer that he had hired in the past for consultation, came right out, and he's the one that determined that if you have this amount of occupancy, fire sprinklers aren't required. Now, has he discouraged Mo from putting in fire sprinklers? No. Mo would love to put in the sprinklers. But the problem is the water availability is not there at this time. So we're down the road, you know, if the water mains are either changed or increased or connected further. So for instance, if you just go down the road around the corner by the Preseo, the wedding event center, as you head out towards Lost Dutchman State Park and Goldfield Ghost Town, they have just extremely good water pressure and extremely good water availability, and they have fire sprinklers. And the reason for that is because the water source comes from all the way up at the end of Mountain View, up there where the old steakhouse up there on the hill. So they have really good water pressure and really good water availability. The hitching post is at the dead end line of a 6-inch main, and the water pressure and volume. Pressure is not so much the issue, it's the volume. You can increase pressure through pumps, but if the volume's not there, you turn a fire pump on and you can collapse the main. It'll suck it right down and cause all kinds of damage. Somewhere down the road, I would imagine that the water source will become available, and if the hitching post decides to ever add on to the building and make large changes, then they'll have absolutely no choice. They would have to put in fire sprinklers. But at this point in time, it's not required by code.
Okay. Do we have to reopen it up for public comment?
You do not have to, no. There's no legal requirement.
You can do it.
Do it anyway.
All right. I've been told that, or suggested that we should open up public comment again. Anyone like to speak on this again?
Hello again, Timothy O'Toole, 2178 East Foothill Street. Gosh, all this talk about all these new events and everything, and part of this agenda, which the city manager didn't announce, is this abandonment. There's a giant piece of property that this man has overtook, put a fence around it, and he's been hanging on to it and renting it out for the last 10 years, and I haven't heard anything about it yet. It wasn't even read. I was wondering if I'm in the right building. I nodded over here. I just wanted to get this on public record because the city manager didn't seem to forget about this part to read about this. This is a big piece of property here, people. There's a piece of property went on my corner for $1 million, 5 acres. So there's 33 by 400 feet, worth a lot of money. Not sure really where this fits in here, but somebody forgot to mention it. Again, the emergency vehicles, a roundabout, we're talking about a roundabout for that. What are we going to do? Just supply police, roundabouts, whatever, just so we can get hot dog and hamburger money for this area? I'm not sure what's going on here, but it's ridiculous that we're going to put a roundabout, which will affect my area with all the lights and everything else. This is going to add more lighting. It's going to add more sound. It's going to, now a roundabout maybe? Sounds great. Where are we going to get the money from that? From the hot dogs and hamburgers he's selling there? And then the people coming in and out of Apache Lake or Canyon Lake, they're coming out of here drinking. Who's going to get hit? These little kids playing with the mutton or whatever, coming out of here and all this. This is ridiculous. It's a danger to everybody. That intersection is dangerous, and what happens, that distraction of these people coming out of this establishment. They're pulling in, they're pulling out, they're going this way, they're going that way. Half of them intoxicated. And the other half that aren't intoxicated are coming from Canyon Lake. It's crazy to put more things there. You're putting everybody at jeopardy. And now that it becomes a city council issue, now you're responsible for it because you knew about it. And then you're going to increase activity because he's the only hot dog stand in town? Come on. This guy's a nuisance. And it's not even that. This piece of property affects my property. I got 500,000 reasons why I'm concerned about this. If he's getting handed an olive branch of 33 feet by 600 and whatever feet, I want an olive branch too, because I got people coming through my yard because they got to get to their property through my house. So as I'm having my barbecue in my backyard, people are driving through my house because I have an easement that somehow, whatever, I don't know how those work out, but I'm starting to figure out how they are. So that easement is a real big deal to me anyways. And it probably to the people of Apache Junction, because he's been using that for free and he's been renting it out for the last 10 years. So I don't care what he's been doing. What I care about is what he's about to get at the bottom of this amendment, which nobody seems to be talking about. What is the issue with the abandonment? Is Apache Junction giving this to him, or, paying whatever it might cost? Is that I haven't heard anything about it. I was just wondering if anybody was going to talk about this. Thank you.
Your Honor, I could tackle that. This agreement allows for a trigger mechanism so that you all can begin the process to work on the abandonment, which is about a 6-month process. That's all this does.
Mayor,
So there'll be future public hearings if you all want to keep going on that.
I'd like, are we done with public comment?
No, yet.
No more? Okay.
Go ahead.
Doc, RAJ resident. I don't understand why the junior rodeo stuff doesn't get hold at the rodeo grounds.
They could.
They
could go there.
that would be one of the places to have the rodeo, is at the rodeo grounds. The city would make the money there, other than on taxes on this dude. You guys just bought the rodeo grounds, so why not have a lot of this stuff happening over there on the rodeo grounds, where you guys can make the money? And one of the council members brought up about the thing about race. I remember over a year ago when Mo wasn't complying with a lot of codes, and he was screaming racism because he had to follow the codes just like everybody else does. So I think that if I have to follow codes, so does everybody else. Right?
Order, please. Anyone else?
Mayor,
Yes.
if we're done with
Okay,
that.
I'm going to end the public hearing the second time.
I want to just address the intersection. That is not the city of Apache Junction's intersection. That is the state's intersection. We can do nothing with that intersection. The state has to do it. Whether it's a roundabout, a light, refiguring it so it's 90-degree angles, it's a dangerous intersection, yes, just the way it has been designed. But we can ask the state to do something, but we can't make the state do anything on the intersection. I just wanted to clear that up. It is not our intersection.
Anyone else?
She's coming for a
Public comments closed. Public comments closed. Sorry. Okay. Can I have a motion on this matter?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the Fourth Amendment to the Hitching Post Development Agreement be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Heck?
No.
Councilmember Cross?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson? Oh, sorry.
She's accused.
Councilmember Soller?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Well, I'm going to make a quick statement in the aspect on it. One of the things that I'd like to see in the aspect on this is, of course, him meeting and maintaining all the zoning requirements that's put upon him. We put in, passed it a few years ago, the noise ordinance and how to measure it and set levels as long as he maintains them on it and be actively pursuing to do that. So I'm going to vote yes in this aspect, but to make sure that he maintains them.
Motion passes on the Fourth Amendment 5-1.
Okay. Old business.
Mr. Mayor,
Gonna-
Mr. Powell will bring up Councilmember Johnson, if we can just wait a moment for her to come back in. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the next two items, you'll see that the wording on them is presentation, discussion, and possible consideration. We put that as an option that if the council is comfortable enough with the items, you can choose to move forward with them tonight. We know that because we didn't have a work session last night where we would have explained the item, had time to ask questions, then have you consider it tonight. That's why we worded it that way. So the next two items, if you want to vote on them in a future date in 2 weeks, that's okay. Or if you're comfortable enough, you have the option to vote on them tonight as well. But the first item, I'd like to invite up Sue Billings, who is, you may recognize her. She helped us through the space planning assessment as well as helping us through the multi-generational center addition. And she's going to just introduce very quickly this master planning contract.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Sue Billings with EDS. Tonight before you, I think I can operate the slides here, right?
Yep, just press the arrow.
Thank you. Is the phase 2 of the master plan process. So if you recall, about a year ago, you approved the effort for a space needs assessment. That's the first phase in master planning. And now we have come to the time where we can continue and do the master planning effort. The master planning effort involves assessing 3 different sites. So we have your main 40-acre City Hall site. We have the Public Works area at Prospectors Park, and then the Public Works facility on the south side. So we had identified capital needs in that space needs assessment, and now it's time to develop site plans to see what that might actually look like. This proposal also includes surveying, so ALTA surveys for all 3 sites, because we do not have any survey information. Lastly, it also provides for a concerted effort in the potential new police headquarters. So this is very early programming for what that concept could look like. It could happen in various sites for that location. Lastly, the CIP framework. This includes setting up a capital improvement plan framework and the budgets associated with these projects that we're identifying. So it sets you up for what you need in the near future and maybe 10 years out in terms of new buildings and facilities. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the council? Yes.
So I'm just assuming from what I'm seeing here, you are including the space needs down at our new Superstition Vistas development down south?
Yes, that is correct. If that is a library, correct, and potentially a police substation, and identifying the needs for that.
Did you say library?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
No questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. And so, Mr. Mayor, again, it's at the council's will and pleasure if you'd like to consider this. If not, you can let us know to bring it back in 2 weeks for either more discussion and consideration again.
All right, do I have a motion or a statement bringing it back in 2 weeks?
Your Honor?
Yes.
I move that the contract with Dick and Fritsche Design Group for long-term master planning services for city facilities in the amount not to exceed $195,000 be approved in the fiscal budget of 2024.
Second.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Oh, okay. Moved and seconded, roll call?
Councilmember Cross?
Yes.
Councilmember Heck?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Soller?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passes, Your Honor.
Okay. Presentation, discussion with possible consideration for contract for Sunland Asphalt.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Liz Lingenbach, Parks and Recreation Director. So we're here to present a contract with Sunland Asphalt. They do several of our different projects for most of our parking lot areas, curbing, anytime we're expanding or adding ADA sidewalks or other curbing. Most of those projects currently range anywhere from $5,000 to $60,000, depending on the various projects over the last few years. And Sunland is on the 1 GPA cooperative contract that ensures that we are getting competitive pricing and that our procurement code is met. 1 GPA is a national nonprofit governmental purchasing contract, and so they do all of the competitive bidding and then award to the best bidder, along with compliance with state and local procurement laws. Tonight we are here to propose a contract that would save us time to have one umbrella contract instead of going out every single time and getting quotes or getting all of these different things, and be able to put them under this umbrella contract for the whole year. And then using that 1 GPA contract, so they are committed to the pricing that is occurring within that. Some of the examples of the past projects, just to give you an idea of some of the things that are in our budget this year and that we've done in the past. Superstition Shadows parking lot, crack seal and slurry seal striping, that was about $10,000. Superstition Shadows, we worked on some ADA accessibility. That one was in the $23,000 range. This year we have in the budget Prospector Park. We're doing all the curbing along the areas that will help with our drainage, $35,000 to $50,000 in that area. Various ADA compliance things that we do ongoing, depending on where the need is. And then we do have some future drainage channel modifications that are covered by our Land, Water, and Conservation Fund grant that will be coming up in the near future. So knowing that we had all of these different things, we felt it would be, the most in our best interest for time, as well as getting our best bang for our buck to get them to do multiple projects at one time. If we were to do one umbrella contract under the 1 GPA. So we're still committed to that pricing that we get. Currently, staff is recommending an award of contract to Sunland Asphalt, not to exceed $350,000 per year. And then this amount is reliant on the annual budget allocation and actual projects. So this year it might only be $100,000 that end up happening. Next year it might be in the $250,000 to $300,000 range. But the idea of the contract is to lock in at the prices that the 1 GPA provides us, and then to be able to put all these projects into that one contract that we're going to be doing. I can answer any questions you have at this time. We also have members of our staff in case you have anything more technical that I need help with.
Yes, Your Honor. Hey, Liz. Page 2 of the contract. Item number 3, the contract term. Do we have better dates than what's there? 2023 in June.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
Good
behind.
call. Yeah, need to change that to 2024.
Thank you.
And we can make that happen before the final contract.
I would have called you, but I just found that today.
Thank you for, you always catch me on little things that I miss.
Anyone else?
Your Honor.
Yes.
Liz, on the page, go back one page, Matt, or whoever's. Award of contract to Sunland not to exceed $350 per year. How many years? Is
So
for the
per
next
this
100 years?
contract, it is good for 1 year and it will be automatically renewed unless we choose to do something differently for 1 year periods not to exceed 3 years from the original execution of this agreement.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Liz, does that have a 10% inflation clause in it to where they can increase that 350 each year, or is it set at 350 period?
So we set it at 350. If we learn that we have more projects, or if we learn that the price is increasing for some reason, then we'd be coming back to do an amendment. We felt that this was an amount that allowed us some of that wiggle room to be able to make those decisions each budget year. We kind of looked at what we've done in past years and what we have on the radar coming up. So we feel that that would be factored in. And then with 1 GPA, they do go out for so they do have to go out and propose their fees, their pricing, and all of that type of thing through the bidding process. So if at some point they were not on 1 GPA anymore, then we wouldn't be able to utilize them. And so that is, we are outlining that it is under the 1 GPA contract that they have to provide pricing for this.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes.
Liz, in that contract term, It states that it will be renewed, not shall or could, but will be renewed automatically and continuously for successive periods of 1 year not to exceed 3. But you said unless we cancel it. There's no cancellation clause in here that I can find. And usually it's, you
let me
have
find
to
it.
cancel and you have to be so far in
We have
advance of the anniversary date.
We have pretty good boilerplate stuff. Let me find it really quickly. Joel maybe will be able to help me. So if you go to page 10, number 24, termination by city. So city shall be permitted to terminate this agreement in the if in the description of the city manager, his or her designee believes contractors fail to meet the terms. How we make notice, how the termination by the contractor can be provided as well.
And that title is like at the very end of the page, so it is kind of made it hard to
Find it.
on when you look at it online.
Yeah, because when you have it over there and it still says fails to meet the terms of the agreement, does that mean if there's any substandard work that we would choose that?
Yeah,
Because
so for
otherwise-
any reason that we choose, so we cannot even ask them to quote a project. So nothing in this commits us to doing one single project with them. All this says is that we can utilize them under the 1 GPA contract for up to 350,000, and it could be 10 projects, it could be 1 project, it could be 0 projects that year if we choose either. For that matter, if we don't have a budget for it, or we don't get it within our budget, then we wouldn't be even seeking services for those things.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Mr. Mayor? Yes.
So Liz, these would all be considered capital expenditures, correct?
For the most part, sometimes it's replacing sidewalks, sometimes it's replacing an existing capital facility, so.
Okay, but I guess, because I'm looking at this, it's 350,000 a year, which would be from our capital budget, correct?
Not necessarily. It could be out of operational budget. So again, sometimes we're expanding a small section of ADA sidewalk. That might be only a small $4,000 project. That wouldn't come out of our capital budget. That would come out of the operating budget. Our parking lots don't come out of our capital budget. They actually come out of the operational budget because they are preventative maintenance that is done on an existing capital asset. And so those actually come out of the operating budget underneath our maintenance.
Okay, so then maybe clarify that one line that says, the bullet point says, this amount is reliant on the annual budget allocation. So it might be in a given year, as you calculate your budget, you're not going to have $350,000 available, which means you won't be able to
Correct.
go to that level.
Yep.
I got it. Okay. All right.
And so the way our financial system also works is that, we do have a limit of what we can do. We have to have that amount in our budget, even to be approved for our purchase order or anything that we do through that process.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, do we need to make a?
There is a minor adjustment. I
Yeah,
think Joel can help with that.
we need to do that until.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and Liz might be able to help. What dates would you like placed on that section?
So we would be leaving the date of today, or whatever date that it's signed, and we would want it to change to June 30th, 2024. That's this coming up June, not the past June.
It's under section 3, the contract term.
So with that,
Put that in the motion,
Yeah, that needs to be in the
put that in
motion.
the motion,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Yeah, sorry, that was missed by
all of us.
staff, me, and also the person who signed it on the other side. So we apologize for that.
I definitely apologize for that.
Good job.
And the vendor too. He missed it too.
It's been interesting.
Yeah.
And he signed it. Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to make a motion on this then?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the contract with Sunland Asphalt for various projects such as parking lot and sidewalk, curbing, work in various city parks, and other general fund projects associated with the Land Water Conservation Fund grant in an amount not to exceed $350,000 per year to be executed starting October 3rd, 2023, running through June 30th, 2024, be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call?
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Nesser?
Yes.
Councilmember Heck?
Yes.
Councilmember Soller?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Cross?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we've gotten down to call to the public. I'd like to remind everyone the call to the public is a courtesy and not required by law. It's a time for the public to express requests, communications, comments, and suggestions. Requests to speak forms must have been completed and handed out to the city clerk before the end of the city manager's report. All issues to be presented in a professional manner without personal attacks. Under the open meeting law, council cannot engage in discussions on issues but presented, but may respond to criticism and may direct staff to follow up with the speaker directly and/or place the matter on a future agenda for council discussion. Please state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes with a 1-minute warning. Okay, my first one, Gail Evans.
Green shirt.
Gail Evans, 913 South Del Rio Court, AJ, Mayor, council members, staff, and the audience. In case anybody forgot, this Saturday is Make a Difference Day. And as a volunteer, you all receive a free, gorgeous shirt, just like this one. And I was so glad to hear from Councilmember Solar having the Faith in Blue on the same day, because it sounds like when we're done, there's food.
That's right.
We just have to show up between 7 and 7:30 at the focal point where we'll disperse into our areas. And we usually only have 1 or 2, 3 hours at the most work, because we've been so fortunate to have the amount of volunteers that we do receive. Please just come, have a good time, meet some of your fellow citizens and your neighbors, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Your Honor, am I allowed to ask Gail how many projects they've got and what they are?
No, not
No.
until
I can,
not until yet.
Well, I wanted her to
Nope.
tell
you wanted to
everybody.
voice it, yeah.
Okay, Devin Kling.
Is it on?
Yes.
Okay. Devin Kling, 1928 West 9th Avenue, Apache Junction, Arizona. Basically, I had an incident. I am a part owner of a business on 1000 Apache Trail, right next to the Dutch Brothers. I had an incident where I was followed by a police officer, and I didn't really appreciate the way I was being followed. And so I called the city of Apache Junction, because when I went online, I could not find anybody to address my concerns. So when I called and got a hold of Dawn McCollum. She took my call and was very sincere in hearing what I had to say. She immediately addressed and said, "Could you please fill out an email and send it to me directly, and I will pass it to the correct process." In doing so, because everything that went on that day, I wrote down the wrong email. So when I sent the email, it did not go to her. I had to call her the next day. In doing so, she said, "I didn't receive your email." I said, "Well, I wrote down your wrong email, so what do I need to do?" She gave me the email, addressed it, received the email, told me, "I received your email. I'm going to pass it along to the city manager as well as the chief of police." That was on September 6th. I did not receive a phone call until September 14th, when I got a phone call on my message from a Lieutenant Riggs from Apache Junction Police Department, stating he was trying to get a hold of me because of an email that I had sent. In his message, he relayed something about a person getting out of the vehicle.
I did not say anything about a person getting out of the vehicle in that email. So I was very upset with hearing a response from a police officer that didn't even recognize the email that I even addressed. When I called him back, the number he gave me was a private number and not even his number. When I arrived back into Apache Junction, I then called the city once again. Dom was not in the office, didn't get a hold of anybody. I called the City of Apache Junction non-emergency number to find out if I could get a hold of Lieutenant Riggs. Left a message with him on his direct line, did not receive any phone call back. I had to go pay my business license on Thursday, the 20th, and when I went in to do that, I went upstairs to the city manager's office to address this. When I did that, I received Eli that works there addressed my concern.
Okay, thank you. Time's up.
Okay. Obviously, I can't get any farther with that.
Donna Carr?
Donna Carr, Apache Junction resident. First, I'd like to say that I'm sad about Maria from the Good Shepherd. She'll be missed. And I have a problem with, I guess, people moving into neighborhoods that are, I say, squatters on other people's property. And it's not big property, but they've actually moved in a camper. I asked them to please put their generator on the other side because the fumes were hovering under my carport and I couldn't breathe the fumes. They said, don't worry, by next week we'll have electric hooked up. And they did. They have a cable that's probably about 1 inch round. It went underground from the home that's existing there to the camper that they are now living in. They said they got evicted out of the place that they were living, so they were moving in. They hooked up to the water. My backdoor neighbor was waiting to see if they were going to hook up to the septic tank too. Not sure if they did or not. One of my neighbors called and talked to code compliance. They sent somebody out, but they sent him to the wrong address. But they did find a shed that was built there where somebody hooked up power and is living in that. So they thought that was the right address. So just to say, it's a camper. And on top of that, there was 3 pugs that were already there. Now there's 5 dogs, and the other 2 are big dogs. So it gets to the point of ridiculous. And when you have to smell fumes, I don't know if it's their air condition that's the problem, but there's fumes coming off over there. And another thing is that I just want to say is, hope everybody sees the eclipse on the 14th of this month. I think that's going to be awesome. And I am all for putting something in for the younger generation. I am so tired of hearing that. I remember when Ducey was in, oh, we need more golf courses. Yeah, right, sure. How about something for the younger generation? I remember about 38 years ago, they used to have this carnival. I can't remember if it was in Tempe or not, but I used to take my daughter there when she was little. And, they have nothing. And you don't want your kids to grow up to be rugrats. You got to give them something more to do than stand on the corner or go to a skate park. There's got to be something more. And I am for having the city maybe do more with the rodeo grounds and have more activities there at the rodeo grounds. I don't know, maybe a county fair over there would be nice too. Just saying. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Schroeder?
George Schroeder, 2444 West Virginia Street. I'm betting $1,000, 15 months. We're right back here with Mo, where somebody got hurt, or something stupid happened out there. Because you had a different idea. We're throwing an olive branch to a man who threw a $20 million tantrum, and you want to give him 8 more events. Way to go. Thursday, we had a meeting about north-south corridor. Interesting. All the gray hairs showed up. None of the people who are actually going to have to vote on it or pay for it. Yeah, give it to ADOT, right? It's a DOA. It's dead on arrival. Nobody wants it. Nobody with a brain. We're going to pay dearly. And eventually we're going to have a roof tax because they're budgeting money where we don't have it yet. And we're not going to have it. It's called cooking the books. And they're going to make us get a roof tax. Anyway, so it's really terrible. We're going to get 300,000 homes. We got to pay for it. While Land Trust, for each of the 10 years, is going to get $10 billion. And in 30 years, they're going to have a lot of money. Who gets to spend that money? Not you. The governor can't do it. Legislature can't touch it. We as general people can't touch it. There's only one organization that's got the combo to that vault. And they're brothers and sisters, and we got nothing to say about it. So what are we going to get? We're going to get all those homes. We're going to be separated from the open land, our mountain. What do we get to look at? We're going to be separated. We're going to end up a district of Mesa. That's where we're headed. You know, you got to think smart about this. Think long term.
Timothy O'Toole?
I think he left.
Okay.
I think he was.
I'm having a problem reading this one. Is it Jane?
I think you've had enough to listen to tonight, so I'm going to pass.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Meek.
Hey, there you go.
Did it.
Adrian, come on down.
Adrian.
Hey, you figured it out. Way to do it.
Good evening again. This is Augustus Meek.
Augustus.
This is an interesting meeting tonight. Covered a lot of issues and, ruffled a lot of feathers. That's government. Glad to see it. Pretty much I said what I wanted to say earlier, but, I just wanted to say I think he did okay passing the Fourth Amendment for Mo. He's a good business. The hitching post, yeah, it's a business that the community needs. But like Councilman Heck, I also have issues with safety and all that. But, it's like, it's what's in the building. And, people are complaining about what's outside. And so I can't see where, the bulls and the sheep are going to be that loud, or maybe the cheering and all that. But I'm still all for it. And, the hitching post's been there forever. And, like I said before, it's sometimes you need to check out where you're moving, because you may not like what's there after you get there. So, sometimes that's what's happened. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Can we get Mr. Devon and maybe the police chief together?
Yeah, we'll have the chief meet with him.
Okay.
And we'll have Rudy also double check some addresses as well.
For code compliance.
Yes, we do need to find these sheds. Yes.
Yeah.
And so Rudy's already on it. Yeah. Yeah, that's another one.
Okay. Anyone else from the council want to? All right. Adjourned.